Hey, Call What You Want is live, so here are the rules. Now that we're live, okay, for everybody watching, you got to hit like, you got to hit subscribe, and you got to drop your comments into the live chat so we can read them on air. Ask anything you want. I don't know if all that'll get on air, but, you can try. So, yes, let's get after it. Hello, hi, and welcome to your favorite Average to Good podcast, Call It What You Want. You got three former U.S. men's national team players with you, Charlie Davies, Jesse Marsch, and myself, Jimmy Conrad. We have a great show for you guys today. We are going to be talking about the Copa America and our locks for the roster, what we think Greg Berhalter is going to do. We have 18 of the 23 decided, 5 up in the air. Look forward to getting your thoughts on that as well, everybody watching and listening. And then we have a very special guest. Griffin Yow is coming on with us, plays in the Belgian Pro League, and he is a hopeful to play for us in the Olympics in Paris this summer, where Chuck is right now. And then we'll get to Americans abroad, and we have some headlines to get into and all that fun stuff. We got the word of the day. But first, before we get into the word of the day, Chuck, we had to wait 20 minutes because apparently Jesse Marsch got pulled over in Italy, and we need to know
incredible.
What's happening.
Mamma mia. Okay. Disastro here in Italia, qui in Italia. No bene. But so I just bought a car here in Italy from the dealership so that we have a way to drive around. They didn't inspect it, apparently, when they sold it to me, and I got pulled over for no inspection.
Chuck, do you buy this story or?
No, I don't
think
buy it at all.
He was taking a call.
Honestly,
I was thinking maybe I was bound for the Italian jail, something like this. I don't think I'm the type that could last too long in an Italian prison. So yeah, I was just happy that they basically let me go with a slap on the wrist. And you know what? What helped me is the police officer said, I said to him, I was like, my Italian's not great. And he goes, Sprechen Sie Deutsch? I said, ja, genau, auf geht's.
So wait, did you get off?
So I negotiated myself away from the Italian law, policia, in German. There you go.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
that is impressive. The German's coming in handy in Italy. That's who would have thought.
Yeah, it was nice.
I still don't buy Chuck. I don't buy what Jesse's selling, but we'll go with it anyway. Because anytime I'm late, I've got to pull over.
Let me know the fine. Let me know the fine, guys. I'll throw it in the kitty. Let me know.
All right, let's get into it. Call it what you want. Word of the day. You guys ready for this? Who won last week? I can't even remember. Jesse did, I guess.
Adios mio.
All right, for this week's word, we're going to focus on the word for the law of the game that basically everybody despises unless you're a lowly defender like myself. It's offside, okay? And in this part of the world, offside is known as white. Okay, so Jesse and Charlie, anyone watching or listening who wants to play along, what language is this? White.
China. I'm going to go China.
That's a great guess. It's a great guess, but it's clearly Vietnamese. It's clearly.
Interesting. Do you guys want the clues, or we just?
Yes, we want the clues.
Okay, clues.
Because we're close, but we're close, Jimmy.
We're close.
I know.
Yeah, you're getting close. You're close. Pretty close.
We're definitely close. Asian
Close.
for sure.
Okay, so Wolves are owned by an international conglomerate headquartered in this country.
Indonesia.
And next clue: Fabio Cannavaro, Fabio Cannavaro is now at the helm of Udinese. Was a caretaker manager of this national team for 2 games. In 2019.
Look at Jesse. He's searching. Cannavaro was a manager
definitely
here.
helping with. It's gonna be then.
It's
Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia.
No. I'm gonna go. He was managing.
Oh, God. Maybe Japan. Was he in Japan? He was in Japan.
All right, listen. It's Chinese. Chuck already got it. Way to go, Chuck.
It's so bad.
The Wolves are owned by Fosun.
I knew that they were owned by Chinese.
And Fabio Cannavaro managed China for 2 games in 2019, losing 1-0 at home to Uzbekistan and Thailand.
Jeff is the name. Jeff is the name of the Wolves.
There you go.
They call him Jeff.
All right.
They call him
Why did
Jeff.
you just say I got it in the first place?
I wanted to. Producer Des works very hard, Charlie, on finding us some clues, and I wanted to honor that. Plus, I wanted to drag it out just a little bit. But congratulations, Chuck. I'm really proud of you. Really proud of you.
I own that one. Hey,
you do.
I'm proud of you too, Chuck. I'm proud of you too.
Great pronunciation, Jimmy, on that.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think that really locked it in for us. I
Listen,
feel like
I mean,
the
and
better
you
my
did.
pronunciation, the easier it is for you.
Can we also mention that Charlie's living the tough life in Paris?
Yeah, you're in Paris right now. What are you doing there,
I'm-
Chuck?
Literally, I landed this morning 7:30, and then got to the hotel, and I've just been walking the city. I think that's the best part. Is all right. I knew I wanted to check out the Eiffel Tower. Everything else is just we're just gonna walk around the city. I've been here so many times. It's been 10 years since I've last been in Paris, so it's been pretty nostalgic. Getting a chance to see the streets. Go to the boulangerie and eat the breads and it's just so good.
Et
And tonight
parlez-vous
I'm going to-
français? Parlez-vous
Oui.
français?
Oui, un petit peu,
Un
mais
petit peu.
Wow.
très difficile.
Oh,
Très
Renaissance man over
difficile.
here.
Très difficile.
Renaissance man.
C'est
Are you
bon.
hanging, wait, are you hanging with Thierry Henry at all?
No, they're all in London.
Ah.
Et
But
à
tonight I'm going to my
Paris,
favorite restaurant, which is I got a reservation, which I didn't think I'd be able to swing, but I got it, so I'm pumped.
I love
est-ce que
that.
tu à Paris pour amour? Pourquoi?
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 Pourquoi? Pour CVS.
Oh, okay. I thought you were there
Oui.
for love with your
Oh, she wanted to come. She was mad.
Yeah, she's bummed about that one for sure. All right, let's get into our first topic of the day.
C'est bon.
It's the Copa America roster, our locks, kind of volume 1, because obviously it's going to be some time. But the Copa roster, the deadline for Copa America is June 12th. We have 2 friendlies coming up on June 8th against Colombia, and then June 12th against Brazil. So obviously a little room there for Greg to make some decisions, assuming he hasn't locked in his team up until that point. Serginho Dest has already come out and confirmed he has an ACL tear, so we're not going to see him until 2025, which is unfortunate. We hope he gets better soon. So we want to get into our roster locks. We were asked behind the scenes to come up with who we think are automatically going to go already on the plane or come into the States to play in this competition. I think we settled on 18 of the 23. And we're going to get into those 18 now. I had 21 actually on my roster, but
well, then you failed the test. You failed.
Yeah,
the
I
test.
did.
You're
You
supposed to
failed.
put 23.
Okay, great. Thank you very much on that. All right, so here's what we got right now. We got Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath locked in. That's who we think for sure. Miles Robinson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, who is back playing full games for Celtic, Chris Richards, Anthony
I agree
Robinson,
with all of that.
Tim Ream. So we're all good on these.
Yeah, well,
these
you
locks
put them on your list. These are all the 3 that these are all the ones that we shared. All 3.
Right,
of us.
right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's get into midfielders then. Johnny Cardoso ran another 90, I think, this past week for Real Betis. Tyler Adams still hurt with Bournemouth. Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, who didn't play for Nottingham Forest, a big win this past weekend. Christian Pulisic, Timo Weah, Brendan Aronson, Haji Wright, Flo Balogun, and Josh Sargent round out our 18. That means there's 5 spots open and ready to go. And we got to get into those 5, but I wonder how everybody else is feeling. Hit us up in the comments with your thoughts if we missed anybody in our automatic locks.
Hey, you see the hot take from Drunken Ramblings with Aaron. Hot take. Balo shouldn't go to Copa. He's not in form, and the spots would be better off going to Sargent and Pepi. Yeah, Pepi hasn't played much, but he has scored when given the chance. Right on the wing.
Okay, well, that's a good start conversation piece. I mean, you got to bring Balogun. There's no question. You bring him.
Yeah,
if you don't bring him, like, what message does that send to him if you don't bring him? Right? I mean, that's rough. And Ricardo Pepi can play in the Olympics if you don't elect to bring him. I don't know. It gets a little interesting. We all had Sargent in our roster, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation. So Balogun is playing at Monaco and getting considerable minutes, whereas Pepi does not, and he's behind the captain Luke de Jong. So in an ideal world, you're not going to bring Pepi to not play any minutes in Copa America when he can play every single game at the Olympics, and PSV don't need him per se. Whereas Monaco, Balogun's firmly in the plans. They spent a lot of money on him, so he would more likely have to. He could only go to Copa America and wouldn't be released for the Olympics. So I think it works in a lot of ways, that scenario.
I actually want to see. Can we bring up the first slide, producer Des, so we can get that? So defenders: Miles Robinson, CCV, Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream. No space for Joe Scally. I feel like because he can play on both sides, he played left wing back for Borussia Mönchengladbach on the weekends. I don't know why we wouldn't bring him. I know I don't start. He's nowhere near my starting 11, but I think you bring him just for
because
cover.
he can go to the Olympics as well. That's why.
All right.
I have him on my list. Listen, for me, in all ways, for me, Copa America takes precedent, right? And so, even if there are some guys that do qualify, like I put Schulte as the third string, and I know he'd be better off served by going to the Olympics.
Well, Jesse, here's my issue though with the third goalkeeper. That goalkeeper won't play.
Ever possible, but
you're asking an MLS player. You're asking an MLS player to take a month off of their season. I think it's going to be a European goalkeeper for sure. So you could have Gago Slonina potentially be the third Copa America or whoever you want from that perspective.
Understood. But I think, listen, I get it. And I get that we want to have good performances at the Olympics, and I get that figuring out a way to have two really good teams and perform in both tournaments. But for me, if I'm the head coach of the national team, I want my best team possible together for Copa America, especially considering this is the best dry run for what you're going to have in 2 years for the World Cup. So that's the rationale behind all the decisions that I made for what I would make of the squad were totally based on what is the best team possible available that you can put together to go to Copa America and get results.
But on the flip side, Jess, you mentioned prior to this, dealing with players at Leipzig, that you wouldn't release them to go to the Olympics, right? So some of those players that can go, like a Danny Olmo, you said,
you could request as the national team coach, you could request that they go to both, but then it's up to the clubs to decide.
But in let's say MLS, for instance, losing a player for the Copa America for instance, they have no say in MLS coach if they go to Copa America or not. If they get called in, they get called in. But then to say, hey, Olympics, can you release him? They're going to actually, no, he went to Copa America and didn't play. He's important to our team.
Right, exactly.
And, for Patrick Schulte, that's a guy who's going to play every single game and be important for the Olympics versus Copa America, third string, never playing. So you also have to think what's going to be more beneficial for Schulte, playing time or being a third string and just getting that experience at Copa America. So I get that you want your best players together, but ultimately you want your best players to be playing. And if they're not even going to be really used, I think
the goalkeeper
it's hard
situation
to
is unique. That's the unique one, right? But for me, if you're talking about, and I could understand that argument, Scally for me needs to come to Copa America. They need to make sure right now. I've said this entire podcast. The fullback position is the biggest questionable position for me in the entire squad. Once you get beyond Dest and Robinson, right? Then the depth chart drops off.
Listen, I'm going to solve the goalkeeper thing right now. Nick Raimondo was an excellent third goalkeeper for the U.S. for many years. Just bring him back for the vibes,
Tony
he's not going to play anyway.
Tony Miola.
Bring Tony Miola. What does it matter? What does it matter?
Yeah.
Bring these guys in for the vibes. They can be like a de facto assistant coach as well. Anyway, that's how I solve that. I agree with you on Scally. I wonder if we are going to consider flirting with a back three or three center backs with two wing backs. You have Timo Weah on the right side. Weston McKennie obviously played a little right back for us at the Nations League. You could have Scally as cover. I think you have different guys that can play that spot at a pinch. Not more ideal, of course.
Yeah, makeshift. More
makeshift. But if you're going to go with three in the back, then I think you want to consider bringing in another center back or two. And so I wonder if Mark McKenzie.
You think they're going to go three in the back?
I think it's up. I think we should try it. We have two friendlies against competition. We're probably going to play in the round of six or the quarterfinals.
Do it though. It's one thing that you would think that this group can do it, and you want to see it. Versus, you think Greg is all of a sudden, after 5 years with this group, going to go, you know what? Against Brazil, Colombia, and Copa America, we're going to go back three.
You could, because it can be a makeshift. I mean, he can obviously be fluid and flexible enough to go into a back five if you're getting overrun in certain areas, or you can be a fluid back four where one of the wing backs drops based on the situation. I think we have an intelligent group of players that can manage that. And in the build-up phase, we're already kind of doing that anyway. So to have three.
I'm talking about Greg here, not what you think and not what Do you think Greg is going to
No,
switch
no,
the system?
no, because he
No,
runs
I
it like a
think-
club
I
team, and he
think
wants his
Greg-
club team to play a 4-3-3.
I think Greg could play with Chris Richards at right back
You could do that.
and then go into a 3 buildup.
Right. And then you
Right.
have Jedi being your width on the left side.
Yeah. And then you rotate the left winger more into an inside midfielder. And then you'd use Carter Vickers for the center back, and then Tim Ream is the build up left center back and Chris Richards on the other side.
So you could do it, but
it
still stay in a 4.
It doesn't always allow all the rotations that Berhalter likes with all the midfielders and everybody, moving all over the side and Gia Reyna dropping and this kind of thing. But there is the foundation of what they can still do with the ball about shifting, whether it's an inside midfielder or a deep midfielder out to one side or the other. There is still flexibility that you could use within the system that he likes to use Chris Richards as a right back.
In saying that, Jesse, I think if that did happen, I think Timothy Weah's position becomes that much more important. His role in the team, because he can play that right wing back spot. So if Chris Richards was the right back, he's not getting forward, right?
Yes.
So Timothy Weah has got to do the extra work, and so
if we want to call it a 4-3-3, but it's still acting like a 3 in the back, then whatever, dude. It doesn't we're not going to be changing systems, but it's just manipulating the 4-3-3 a little bit to act like as that.
I think that's logical, actually, and it'll make them better on set pieces. It'll have a better foundation defensively. Like, I think there's logical reasoning behind the fact to use.
You got to put.
We got there, Jimmy. We got there.
And I don't know if I would.
I didn't present it maybe the way that was as digestible as you guys are presenting it, but we're all there on the same page.
I don't know if there are any other center backs that can qualify kind of into that position. I think Carter Vickers is more a pure center back. I think Tim Ream is also more. I mean, Tim Ream has played left back in his career, so you could consider rotating it on the other side. But you have Anthony Robinson, who does a really good job when he plays on that side. So yeah, I mean, I actually think that's probably what we're likely to see.
I hope so, because it makes a lot of sense. All right, let's just talk about Ricardo Pepi.
Yeah,
what do you do with him? Because Balogun's coming. Obviously, the emergence of Haji Wright and Josh Sargent having very good seasons for their respective clubs. Ricardo Pepi did the most with his time, but didn't get a lot of time playing behind Luke de Jong. Do you take him to both tournaments? If you only can take him to one, which one do you take him to? I think that's the big question mark, because him at the Olympics would be pretty sweet as well.
I want to see him at the Olympics. I think Ricardo Pepi, I think largely in part because he didn't get much playing time to continue to grow and develop, although he's made the most of his opportunities. And I give him a lot of credit for keeping the right mentality, mindset, going out, delivering, knowing that at PSV, you have to train hard every single day. And when you get that opportunity, take it. And he has for the most part, but unfortunately, he's in a tough situation playing behind the captain. And Luke de Jong isn't going anywhere, the Dutch international. So given that, Haji Wright has taken his chance and has progressed. Josh Sargent has been taking his chances and has progressed. And so I think just by natural default, they've jumped him. And then Haji Wright played well in the Nations League. So given he's probably third, fourth string, let him play out the Olympics, raise his value. Either, PSV say, hey, he's our guy for the future. Maybe it's one more year of Luke de Jong kind of leading the line at PSV, or he raises his value and PSV can sell him, right? So I think it's a win-win for everyone involved in that scenario if Ricardo Pepi goes to the Olympics, because one, he'll be a hell of a striker in that setup. I think he can really show well and prove that he has what it takes to, have the U.S., advance in the Olympics and potentially medal. I think that would be something I'd like to see. And Ernie Stewart, I don't think would allow him to go to Copa America and the Olympics, right. As Leo just asked in the comments, why not bring Pepi to both? I think Ernie would not allow that. Players need a mental break.
Reference of the comments. Good reference of the comments, yes, Charlie. He's got a good vision for everything that's going on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of an attacking midfielder here. I got it on the swivel.
Check your shoulders. Check your shoulders.
I tell you, I think Pepi's the guy on the roster that I feel the worst for, because if you just took his performances this season at PSV, he's played well enough to be on the national team, to be considered an important player for PSV. If you look at his production per minute, if you look at a lot of the just now how he's played in matches, you would say it's been a good season for him, but he hasn't played enough. Part of the reason because of Luuk de Jong that you just mentioned. They've tried to use him on the left at times. That's been okay, not great. He's clearly a striker. I think overall, when he's played for the national team, he's had good performances. He deserves to be part of the group. But when you just compare that now with form of some of the other players that he's competing with in the national team right now, they probably now have edged themselves ahead of him. So what I think you have to do if you're the coach is you have to ask yourself a little bit, all right, and we've talked about this in the past, is this position for us a little bit of a plug and play? Are we going to play the hot hand here with the strikers and who's playing their best with the national team? Because no one's really established themselves at the level to say that's our number one striker, right? So
what would you do as a manager? Would you play?
Well, that's my point. I think you've got to now say you've got to first almost work backwards and go, okay, looking at the overall player pool and then what we think we need out of that position, who is most likely to establish themselves come 2026, right? And then this would be one where I'd go across the staff. We'd have a really good discussion. And then I'd go down to each staff member and say, okay, rank 1 to 5, right? Who are they? Tell me, okay? And then we'd go through and you'd look a little bit at it. And then you'd have to now start to evaluate where you think where each guy fits in, and then try to predict what it will look like in 2 years. But then obviously you have to also take form and what they've been able to accomplish for the national team in the last transfer windows, and you have to put the whole ball of wax together. And then when you're the manager, you have to say, all right, based on what I think it's going to look like in 2 years, what it looks like now, and how to help this player establish himself. And by the way, each one, right? What is the likelihood that they're going to establish themselves, that they're going to continue to fit the role the way we want it to be played? And then what does that group look like? And then you have to make decisions. With all of that being said, Pepi is probably, that's why I said I feel sorry for him right now. He's probably on the outside of the Sargent, Balogun, Haji Wright group right now. He's probably number 4, which probably means it's probably serving him best to go play in the Olympics, get some playing time, establish himself at a high level in those games, get himself fit and ready to then go into the season with PSV, hopefully iron out everything with the club there and the manager, and now try to put your best foot forward to have the best season you possibly can and use the Olympics as a springboard for that.
Hey, Chuck, can you imagine being on Jesse's staff and all of a sudden he walks in, he goes, okay, hot shots, pop quiz. I need 1 through 5. You got 30 minutes to tell me.
Yeah, no, I mean but this is part of what a staff is. I try to have a very open, open dialogue with the staff, but I expect them to come with ideas, with data and factual evidence behind their ideas. And then we use it to now make decisions together. And ultimately it's my job to make the decision.
Yeah. Mental note, when I'm getting my coaching badges, this is how I want to apply for the job with Jesse's staff.
Yeah.
Got to be ready for
good
the
luck.
quizzes.
Good luck. Your interview is going to be hell, Jimmy. Hell.
Oh man. There's a lot. I had to come back for that one, but I'm going to keep it inside for now. All right. We're going to take our first break for Call It What You Want. When we come back, we're going to talk to a 21-year-old who is the pride of Clifton, Virginia, Griffin Yow. So don't go anywhere.
One final stop on the road to London. The UEFA Champions League semi-finals on CBS and stream every match live on Paramount+.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Jesse Marsch and Charlie Davies, and a very special guest who starred for the U23s in our last 2 friendlies in our lead up to the Paris Olympics, Griffin Yow. What's up, Griffin? Great to see you. How's everything going, man? You're in Belgium right now, playing for Westerlo in the Belgian Pro League. You guys are mid-table, so not competing for trophies, but obviously a great experience for you in particular.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, even kind of like you said, since the season's winding down a little bit more and we're in playoff 2, we're not playing for, anything serious. It's still great to just be playing, you know what I mean? Because my first like 4 or 5 years at DC, it was something that I just missed out on completely. And so just to have the feeling that, you know, I'm in the starting group and I can get into this good routine, and, you know, I have a game on the weekend, you know, just that feeling that I have a game on the weekend and I have this training to prepare for, whether we're playing for, you know, a huge playoff game or whether it's like it is right now and we're not doing much. It's just a great feeling to be on the field and be playing.
Yeah, good for you, Griffin. It's great to see you establish yourself too. Take us through a little bit, okay, your experience at DC, and you just described a little bit that you wish you could have played more and that been a bigger part of the team, but maybe what you think the level of training was like there versus what the level of training like has been in Belgium. You know, what's been the key to establishing yourself with the team there, what your positional demands are, what the coach is asking from you, and then end a little bit with like what you think of the Belgian league versus what MLS is, and comparing that a little bit. So 4-part question. First thing is you got to remember the 4 parts.
Yeah, I'm already trying to think of all of them at once. No, you know, I think my time at DC was difficult just because, you know, the training was a good level, to be fair. You know, it's not like there's a huge difference between the training level there and the training level here in Belgium. But I just think it was kind of their plan for me, you know, what they were telling me, kind of keeping me motivated. Because if I just feel like I'm going there and going to train with the idea of, you know, I have no idea what direction I'm going in. Okay, I had a great training this week. I had a great week of trainings. I had, you know, 5 great trainings, and okay, I'm not on the roster, but, you know, what does this mean for me? You know, I'm not really, there wasn't much, you know, feedback that I was getting necessarily, you know, because I would go to some of the staff and ask them, and it was just kind of the same, you know, be patient. We see that you're doing really well. Go and train, or go and play with the USL team, which was Loudon at the time. You know, show yourself there, and, you know, it's just a matter of time until, you know, I get the same thing over and over and over again for 3.5 years straight. And then it's like, how patient do you really want me to be? And, you know, I don't just put everything on them. There was a maturing process that I also needed to go to. You know, I had a really fast start. You know, I was, as I'm sure a lot of, you know, young professionals have, you know, you're kind of the man coming up through the youth system. You go with the national team, you know, scoring goals, feeling good, and then you sign your first professional contract, and you kind of still have that attitude, like, you know, I'm the man, I'm almost, you know, invincible in a sense. And it kind of takes you to just get beat up and feel like, okay, I'm not the man. Like, I've got faults. I'm not playing with grown men. I'm no longer playing at the U17, U19 DA level, which is what it was called when I was playing. And so it kind of took me to get beat up a little bit. You know, it's not like it was completely them, but at the same time, when I look at what's given me success here versus in DC was, you know, I'm getting real feedback here. You know, my first year was the same type of thing. It was kind of like an integration period. It was kind of a period where I needed to learn, I needed to get used to things. But I had not only coaching staff, but players and you know, the president is coming and speaking with me saying, okay, yeah, we see this. And he's watching the trainings all the time, which is also, you know, really, really good. He's watching all the trainings. He's telling me, okay, we see this. You know, and they're asking me about what's my life like off the field, which was, you know, not something that I was necessarily asked with DC. Of course, I was younger and I was living with my parents, but, you know, these guys, I'm living on my own. They're checking almost to a sense where it kind of made me uncomfortable when I was first here. Like, they were like, yeah.
Curfew, did you have a curfew? And
it wasn't a curfew exactly, but there was one day where I was at training and they came to me and they took a bunch of pictures of my apartment and they showed them to me because the apartment is rented out by the club. And then they just take it off of my salary each month. And so they, you know, went into my apartment. They knew it was just me living there. Now my girlfriend's here, but at the time it was just me. And so they went in and they, you know, see that it's not necessarily, you know, there's dishes from where I was eating. There's some clothes on the ground. They're like, so how are your habits, you know, off the field? What are you doing? What's your eating like? all of
Wow.
these things that I didn't even, realize. And at the time, oh, dude, I was pissed. At the time, I'm like, oh, what right do you have to come into my apartment and this, that, and the other? But
They're like, we paid for your apartment. We paid for it.
yeah, exactly. And in the end, it's like it really, really helped me a lot. Like
Good.
the person like Brian, for example, Brian Reynolds, who's here, he'll tell me, and he tells everyone that I had the biggest and just quickest like change and turnaround that he's ever seen with anyone. Just the way that kind of I was carrying myself, what I was doing off the field, what I was doing in the weight room, what I was doing on the field, all these things. And it's just like something just all of a sudden clicked where it was like, okay, I'm not doing enough. If I want this as much as I know that I want it, I want to be at the highest level. My goal is to play in the Champions League. My goal is to be on that World Cup roster. If I want to do all of these things, then something needs to change. I can't keep pointing fingers at, oh, these guys didn't give me a chance and this wasn't fair and this, that, and the other. Like it has to come from within at some point. I need to start really changing what I'm doing. And, I give credit to Westerlo, because they kind of put it 1 inch from my face where it was really clear, where it was like I had nowhere else to turn. Like I have to look at myself and say, okay, what can I do differently? And
well, I tell you, Griffin, it's funny because we had, after you scored against France, we had just a short interview that I think you did on CBS.
Yeah.
And on that interview, you talked about the work and the mentality, and we all remarked on how impressed we were with your overall mindset. And listen, I think this is a great message that you're giving in general, because in America, I feel like there's so much potential talent, right? But it's gonna really come down to how successful you are is going to come down to mindset, work ethic, desire to prove everyone wrong, give everything you have, never accept anything but the best from yourself. And you can see that. And I appreciate you saying that there was a shift, because you moved to Europe, you're on your own. You have to now develop a whole new level of professionalism if you want to compete at this level. So it's really good to see. Really good to see.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No, I appreciate
Keep
it.
going.
I appreciate it. And it's like, there's that first initial shift, and you start to see some of the benefits. I see I'm a regular starter now. I'm scoring goals. I'm accomplishing these things. But now, I've even just in the past week, it's a coincidence, because I'm even now like, there needs to now be another shift. This is all great, and I'm achieving things that now, a year ago or when I first became a pro is what I dreamed of achieving. Being a goal scorer, being a starter for one of these, great teams in Belgium. Back with the national team, kind of in the group a little bit, scoring goals for the national team, and being looked at. But now it's like, is that where I want my ceiling to be? No, like I really don't. I would, like I said, I want to be playing in World Cups. I want to be playing in Champions Leagues. I want I want my roof to be, I want to have no roof. And so now there needs to even be another change. And like what more can I now do? I can't be satisfied just with what I'm doing here.
It kind of brings me back to when I was younger and trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step for me? You said you want to play in Champions League. You're getting a great opportunity to get minutes in Belgium. So now you're starting to see the quality and what is the best that Belgium has to offer in terms of talent? What is the best that the US under 23s has to offer? And you're in the mix. I mean, you're progressing. You're scoring goals. You had 3 assists in the game prior to the France game against Guinea, and then you scored against the French under 23s. How do you see your chances making this Olympic team? Are you confident? Are you a little nervous? I mean, there's a lot of depth, and you obviously are in the mix of things. And then what is the logical next step for you? Because you say you want to play Champions League. You've become now a solid part of this Westerlo team. What is the next step for you?
Yeah, I think to answer your first question, I'm nervous and I'm confident, at the same time. I wouldn't say I'm confident that my name's on that roster, that I'm a deadlock, because, an 18-man roster it's a tight roster. And when you've got guys coming down from,
especially 2 goalkeepers, right? So it's only 16 field players. Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly. When you have guys, like you said, kind of, the Pepis who are, maybe coming down now from the first team, and, you need to make room for them as well. I understand how tight the roster is, but I'm also, confident in my ability. I know that I went and had a good performance against Guinea and against France, and, I showed well. And now I think it's just trying to continue that form. Like I kind of mentioned, some of these games don't mean so much for some players, especially kind of for the older guys. In some of these last 3 games, we're not playing for much, but for me, it's like, these are big games for me. I need to continue to show myself. I need to continue to keep myself sharp. I can't take my foot off the gas. And so, yeah, I think I'm nervous, but, I'm excited for that roster to come out and for what's to come. But as far as a next step, I think.
Yeah, would you want to stay in Belgium? Would you want to go to the Netherlands, Bundesliga? Because I remember from Sweden, I thought, okay, it's probably Liga in France or Bundesliga. Those were the 2 leagues that I think give you the most opportunities for me as an American, with the clubs that were interested in me and playing at the highest level at the moment that I thought would, I could translate well to. So is there a club, or is there a league in mind that, typically a lot of guys from Premier League go to?
I think for me, I wouldn't mind going to a different league, but at the same time, I also like the Belgian league. I think if I was to be able to play for, one of the, like a Bruges, for example, because when I played them this season, we played, the Antwerps, the Anderlechts, Union, but Bruges really stood out for me when we played them. It was like, wow, this is a team that's just unbelievable. Like, they have a style of play. I think for the first 45 minutes, first half, we didn't even touch the ball. And so I think if I can make the step to a team like that, but also continue, because I would be challenged with a team like that, with the constant competition week in, week out in training, and battling for that starting spot. But also to be able to be, a lock starter for a team like that, and to be a team that all the other teams in Belgium are kind of afraid of, a team that is expected to win. You kind of have that weight on your shoulders. And so I think and also, you add in the Europa League or the Conference League or the Champions League, Bruges is battling for those leagues. So I think a team like that would be great. But just keeping that ability to, continue to play, because that's honestly where I've felt where I've, improved and been successful this season is, I've just continued to play. I've continued to be able to make mistakes. And I've also continued to, learn from those mistakes and then prove it the very next weekend in the next game. So it's important to continue to play.
I love that you're in this nurturing environment. And I think what's interesting about your story is that in some ways, DC took you for granted. You're homegrown, probably don't have to pay the same type of personal attention. You go to this club in Belgium, which is probably known as a development club and takes pride in developing players and then moving them on. They sign you, and so they're going to take a little bit more of a vested interest, I would say, and making sure that you do develop and that they get value on taking a chance on you, I guess, in some ways. What I find interesting about your story too is that for me, there's 4 areas of development, right? You have technical, tactical, physical, and then mental, emotional. And for me, when I was coming through, the mental, emotional part was the hardest. The other ones feel very tangible, right? I can go lift more. I can go to the gym, or I can watch the game more. I actually think I started taking more steps when I became a student of the game. I started to watch other teams. So I love when you're talking about Bruges, you're seeing something that they're putting together that you're really attracted to and want to learn more about and want to be a part of, which I think is cool. And then technically, I started to work with a tennis ball machine. I saw Eddie Lewis, who ended up playing in 2 World Cups for us. I caught him at the gym we used to go to. We were both here with the Earthquakes in MLS, and he was using a ball machine, and he was pissed that I saw him because it was his secret. And I waited till he left, and I told the tennis guy, hey, can I get in there too? And so I started to do it. And it was an incredible jump for me technically.
Changed your life.
It did change my life. It really did. And in some ways,
I never saw you play with that technical ability. When was that?
Hey, listen, Jesse, I went from walk-on in college to playing at a World Cup. So it clearly did something for me.
That was after you retired. That was after you retired.
But what I think the hardest part for me, Griffin, was getting out of my own way when I was a young player. And it seems like you're starting to put those pieces in place and to really taking any kind of mistakes and utilizing them in a positive way. And I'm glad you're at a club that's giving you the opportunity to fail so that you can properly grow. And I wonder, I went to college, so that was good for me to do that, but you skipped that step. And I wonder now if you're putting those pieces together, which I think college provides. This is a really long question of kind of that
yeah,
developing
I'm
as
lost.
a human.
I'm absolutely lost.
You take
Is it a question? Was there a question in there?
You asked a question earlier. You're like, you're talking like his dad, Jesse. You're like, oh, you're doing a great job, son. Way to go.
Jesse, I think he was just doing headers with the tennis ball machine.
Okay.
There was no.
That was a bowling ball. That was a bowling ball.
No, I guess the big question is like, what have you done? What are you reading a book? What was the catalyst? What was the main switch for you to really change your attitude?
Putting on his boots and getting on the pitch.
Yeah, that's not true. There's more to it than that, Chuck, and you know it.
I think it was like kind of seeing the success, seeing like, okay, and it didn't come instantly. It came in very, small bursts. But seeing how, spending extra time in the gym, preparing my body a better way, sleeping better, eating better throughout the week. And, because I started off playing with the 21s here in Westerlo. And so playing with them and, even at that level, kind of seeing the small changes like, okay, I'm now dominating at training. Like I'm not just there and I don't just have a few sparks, but I'm dominating. And now once we get into the game, now I'm dominating in the games. And now I take a step further, then I'm in first team training and I'm putting on a really good show. Like I'm one of the top players in training now. And so then it just kind of built step by step by step until then I'm getting a chance in the game. And as soon as I came back from my knee injury, my first game I was put in for, 20 minutes and immediately scored in the 90th minute to tie it. And from there, it was just like, okay, let's just keep going. Let's just keep building step by step by step. So I think I took the small victories, and even at the time, it was a big thing for me, just being that dominating player in training in the 21s training and then scoring a hat trick with the 21s and then being a dominating player and hearing from the coaching staff, okay, Griff, we're actually, this has been a really good week from you, keep this up, hearing from the players, what have you changed? You're really taking big steps here. So yeah, it was doing the little things and also, seeing the small victories.
Yeah, it's funny. I often tell young players specifically that the training after the match, the day after the match, that's where I've seen tons of players make their career on those days, right? Because there are some people that show up those days and they don't want to train because they didn't play or they're not in a good mood or they were out the night before. And then there's other guys who come every day and they bring it, right? Yeah. And then they establish themselves in the group through those training days, because often those are 4v4 matches or 5v, they're smaller things where like it's competitive and now that's your chance to show. So it's good to see you've taken that. Now, it looks like you are still at the training ground.
I am. Yes. It's
6 p.m. It's 6 p.m.
Yeah, okay? It's 6 p.m.
And take us through your day. Take us through your day and why you're still there.
So we had a game on Friday and the coach already told us, okay, we'll give you Saturday, Sunday off. And then Monday, it'll be a later training. So you can report at, 1:00. And so, usually I come in, since I'm 2 minutes from the stadium, I usually come in just, 30 minutes before report time and just settle in, have myself a meal, play cards with some of the guys and then start doing pre-activation, getting my ankles taped. Train, then stay after. And usually on a day like this, I would go into the gym and either do mobilization for my knee or I would just, lift weights. But today was the interview. But, most days, and that's kind of the plus of being 2 minutes from the stadium as well. A lot of guys here live in Antwerp, which is like, with traffic after training, it can be like an hour. Oof. And so they're rushing to get out. It's kind of like they already know that they've got an hour drive back. But for me, it's like I can kind of, like I said, I can eat, I can get my treatment, I can, just be around the facility, lift weights. If there's something that's on my mind about the game that I want to talk to one of the coaches about, I'll ask them about it, maybe watch film, just do things like that. And then, I'm finished and I'm 1 minute from my house. I can just go home and rest. But really, like, just being around the stadium and being around the facility is it's good for me. I feel nice. I don't feel like I'm rushing to get home. I feel like I'm kind of enjoying things.
Nice.
I'm curious, Griffin, what Brian Reynolds has done since you've been there in terms of his performance. How has he improved? Because it seems like as of late, he's like starting to find his form and get into a rhythm. Because it was pretty raw in the beginning stages, super athletic, gets up and down the right flank, but missing the final ball or not the right timing for overlap. It feels like now, especially in that U23 game against France, you're starting to see what his capabilities are, and what has that relationship been like with you on and off the pitch?
Yeah, no, off the pitch, I mean, it's amazing. It's great to have another American here. We kind of clicked immediately. It was lucky we kind of have the same personality, on top of being American. So it was nice, especially when both our girlfriends were back in the US. We were spending the night at each other's places, just playing video games, kind of, especially when I was going through a difficult period, I was able to bounce ideas off him. He was able to give me honest feedback. And so off the field, I mean, it could not have been more beneficial. And then on the field, it's great because I think, defensively is something that for me personally, I've always needed to work on a little bit more, when pressing and them trying to break down our press. And so the communication between him and I has been really, really good on defense. It doesn't seem like they rarely get down our side just because we're able to communicate so well and kind of know what the other person's thinking already. But as far as his development, I mean, yeah, you hit it on the head, as far as that final ball or, just he's so athletic. It's unbelievable, just raw, so fast, very strong. But when you sprinkle on that little extra bit of technicality and, playing fast and field awareness, it's helped them a lot. And that is also another thing that is credited to the club, really, because they do these individual trainings. You're able to have someone that's individually working on just final ball, service, just crossing. And for me, it was sometimes playing with my back to goal, coming into the pocket and bouncing and playing one touch, knowing when I can turn, field awareness, just really building on these things that we need work on. And when you work on those things week after week after week, it's natural. All of a sudden you start to really improve on those things.
I want to go play for Westerlo now. I just want to throw that out there. Griffin, thank you so much for your time.
And Griffin, Jimmy's going to send you some tennis balls. All right, Jimmy's going to send you some tennis balls.
That's the free pro tip. Next one, I'm gonna charge you, Griffin. But yes, go use a tennis ball machine. It changes a lot of things, especially your first touch. So yours is already pretty good. Yeah,
we're rooting you on, Griffin. Keep going, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you, Griffin. Best of luck the rest of the season. We're hoping for a big summer as well. We look forward to having you back on the show very soon. Griffin Yow, everybody. More Call It What You Want coming up right after this.
Golf's brightest stars head to the Bluegrass State for the second major of the season. The PGA Championship, May 18th and 19th on CBS.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Jesse Marsch, and we're getting right into Americans abroad. Some notable results. You got Ricardo Pepi coming in, getting an assist in a 4-2 win over Sparta Rotterdam, which allowed PSV to win their first Eredivisie title in quite some time. Christian Pulisic playing at the 10 gets an assist against Genoa. We'll talk about him, of course. Josh Sargent clinching a spot in the championship playoff berth with Norwich. That's exciting. Haji Wright ends season 19 goals and 8 assists in all competitions. Coventry's season is over. And with Juve, 1-1 draw with Roma. Weston McKennie and Timo Weah both start in that game. And Charlie Davies, I'm coming to you first. Which American do you want to highlight that maybe I didn't bring up, or maybe I did bring them up? Who are you going with this weekend? Who do we want to talk about?
Yeah, I think just in the same vein of players who are trying to figure out the right club to excel at and get playing time, I'm going to go with Brendan Aronson, who had an assist, was involved also in the first goal against Bochum. It's almost a tragic situation in Union Berlin in this season, because it's just they go to Champions League to now on the brink of possibly getting relegated. They lost a really terrible match to Bochum at home, and Bochum is now 3 points in front of them. They were down 3-0 at a point at home, and so I look at Brendan Aronson and his work rate and what he offers the game. So he came in as a halftime substitute and changed the game. He helped change the game. So a credit to him. He's had a tough season just in terms of trying to get into a rhythm, coaching changes, not getting consistent minutes. But as of late, he's playing a lot more now, and I want to give him some credit, some love.
Yeah, interesting times for Union Berlin. They are currently 15th and a point out of the relegation spot or the relegation playoff in the Bundesliga. 2 games left to go. They got FC Cologne, who are in 17th spot, so 2 spots behind them. 2 games left in the Bundesliga. They got Freiburg as well.
That could be huge.
It could be. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out for a team that was playing in the Champions League. That's crazy.
But this is my question to you, Jesse. If Union Berlin, regardless of what they do, they stay in the Bundesliga, they're not. I don't think they're going to sign Brendan Aronson on a permanent deal. Does he stay at Leeds, in your opinion? Did he do enough to say, all right, we're going to give him another shot? Or is it all right, we're back in the Prem if they do get back into the Prem, and now's their chance to sell him, or do they keep him?
Yeah, I mean, that's I haven't been in touch with anyone inside the club. I don't really know what the thought process would be. I know that the fans were really hard on all the players that left, that had clauses in their contract to either get loaned out or were sold. So, I'm not sure what the whole status of all of the mentality of what's going on with the club. Certainly for all those, I mean, when you look at the playoff now and the championship, my goodness, there's some good clubs in there, and that is going to be tight. That is, whoever emerges from that will have earned it, no question. So yeah, I mean, but listen, I think that regardless with Brendan, there'll be plenty of suitors around Europe, and one thing that we know he needs is to get back to playing regular minutes. I think in the second half of the season, he's established himself more and played a little bit more and had some better performances in general. So, he's such a great kid. He's a really quality player. He will always do everything he can for the team. I just want to see him excel. I want to see him go somewhere where it feeds into the type of football that he can play, where he can be rewarded, where he can help reward the team he plays for. And I think he'll find that. I'm not sure where that'll be, but I think he'll find that.
Okay, and then Jesse, who are you going with? Who's your?
I'm going with Jedi Robinson. And
Jedi.
And we haven't talked about him that much, and I don't know why you guys never want to talk about him, because he's had such a good year.
He has been good. Well, we always talk about
amazing. He's been amazing. I mean, he's been healthy. He's had 35 starts. They have one of the best defenses in the league. He's a mainstay in that team. I think. In every way, he's been from the games that I've watched, I think he's been their best player, really. And to say that about a fullback position is saying a lot. He's got, I think, 6 assists, but he's just so steady. And the thing that I've referenced quite a bit is that he's just defensively, for me, gotten so much better. He's always been elegant with the ball. He's fast. He's athletic. He's good in the air. But like his defensive 1v1 situations, his defending in the box, his clearances in the box, his tactical positioning. In this game, he was fantastic. Another clean sheet for them. And I think he's quietly, very quietly gone about having a fantastic season and potentially one of the best seasons of all the players in the U.S. national team pool. So it may mean that there's potential for him to make a move to a bigger club in the summer here. But certainly he's become just such a smart player, a quality player, and a player that I think will continue to have a great upside. Yeah,
I like Jedi's game a lot. I'm very curious to see how he performs.
You guys should talk about him more.
We should talk about him a little bit more. So I got 3 choices. I know that's probably not allowed, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just wanted to give a shout out to Ernie Stewart. So from an executive position, helping PSV win their 25th Eredivisie title, their first since 2018. They were runners-up for 3 consecutive seasons. He dealt with the Ruud van Nistelrooy leaving the job, hired Peter Bosch, brought in some smart signings, including 3 Americans, and they go on to win the title in really impressive fashion. So I want to give him a shout out.
No, what about the dancing?
Oh yeah,
The
let's watch him
dancing's the
dancing
best
as well.
part. Are you kidding me?
Look at that.
Where
Look
did
at
this
that.
come from, Ernie?
Ernie's got some
Wow.
sauce.
Some 90s, some 90s moves in there. I mean, come
Wow.
on, Ernie.
Listen, Jesse's got some competition now for locker room celebrations.
Yeah, this is top.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I can't do that.
That is top. Shout out to Ernie Stewart.
I got to tip my cap off to Ernie. He pulled out some moves in there.
Yeah, that was nice.
Let's go.
That was nice. Well deserved. Well deserved for him to have that moment.
I was going to start breakdancing.
All of a sudden, a piece of cardboard comes out and Ernie starts flipping around. Would be amazing. The player I wanted to highlight was more on the bad side. Is Flo Balogun. He didn't get to play this past weekend in an important game for Monaco, and not only that, but Adi Hutter, the coach, elected to go with Briel Mbolo. He's been fawning over Briel Mbolo since he's come back. Briel Mbolo scored. Ben Yedder's scored, and I don't know if we're going to see Flo playing much for Monaco the rest of the season, which, to the point we talked about earlier with our Copa America roster spots, not good. He's not in great form right now, probably not high on confidence. So just interested to see what version of Flo we're going to get here come June. And then I want to give a shout out to Cole Campbell. He's a youngster, plays for Borussia Dortmund's U19s. He had a goal and assist this past weekend, got 6 goals and 3 assists in his last 5 matches. He is the player, if you haven't heard of him, his mom played for the Icelandic women's national team. His dad's an American. He switched from Iceland to the U.S. to be able to play for us. And I think he's a player to watch, and he's got a huge upside. So
doing some homework there.
Are we talking like Olympics?
I don't know if he'll be involved in the Olympics. No, there's just not enough roster spots, but I wanted to put him on everybody's radar. Just no way.
Did you get paid to mention that? Is that like
I didn't, but I feel like I should at this point. I don't know who his agent.
That's
Cole Campbell. Actually, here we go. I got a surprise guest for us. Cole Campbell's on the show. No, but hey, that's turning it up. 6 goals and 3 assists in his last 5.
Love it,
so Jimmy. I want to give him a shout out there.
Well
okay,
done.
some other notable performances. Johnny Cardoso played 90 in a big 2 win for Betis over Osasuna. Taylor Booth, baby. I got my Taylor Booth pajamas. Not on at the moment, but I do have some. He starts his first game since February 18th in Utrecht's 1-0 win over Paxton Aaronson's Vitesse. Zach Booth provided an assist in a 4-1 defeat to Ajax. CCV, Cameron Carter-Vickers, gets a full 90 minutes in a 3-0 win, for Celtic over Hearts.
Okay,
Kevin Paredes played in a 3-0 win over Darmstadt. Darmstadt not very good in the Bundesliga, but it was nice to see Paredes getting up and down the left side. Joe Scally plays at left wing back in a 2-2 draw against Werder Bremen. He didn't have a very good pass, which led to Bremen's first goal, but ultimately they got the results. Busio starts. Tanner Tessman subs on in a 2-1 win for Venezia. And Austin Trusty on the bad side of things, 3-1 loss to Forest for Sheffield United. No minutes for Gio Reyna or Matt Turner. And so some concerns for some of our player pool. But
let me ask you guys this:
who
you
guys
guys
a good move?
What? Yeah. It was
I don't know.
Hey, what about De La Torre? You guys don't have Luca De La Torre on the squad for Copa America?
I did. I had him in.
Charlie's a no-go, huh?
I didn't say 100% lock. I couldn't give you 100% lock with 23 people.
I was pretty happy with
his injury status.
I like Schulte. I could understand not doing Schulte. Okay, so I had Schulte, but then I had De La Torre, I had Scally, and I had those inclusions.
So yeah, I had Scally and
Brendan Aronson. Well. Was he on our locks? Did everyone have Brendan Aronson?
I had Brendan Aronson.
Yeah.
So,
I had I feel like I had one more center back in there that wasn't.
You want to bring 7 center backs?
Well, because I want to play back. We don't need to get into it.
Do we have enough tennis balls for all the center backs?
Okay, listen, that worked, by the way. It helped Eddie Lewis as well. We can get into balls. That. You get
and you know what? It's a good thing those Westerlo people didn't go to your office there or your back. You got to clean that up, man. You got too much stuff back there. They wouldn't be happy with that. They wouldn't be happy.
I need some Westerlo stuff.
That's a crazy story, huh?
That is crazy that they went into his apartment. I would be upset like him too. Like, why are you spying on me? But
and the snapping photos part. That's weird.
That is kind of weird. All right, so we got a new segment here. Call it what you want. We're gonna do a little quick fire headlines. Okay, so we have 2 minutes max per headline. Are you guys ready for this? Fasten some seatbelts.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
All right. Here we go. Headline number 1: Tim Howard gets inducted into the U.S. National Soccer Hall of Fame.
Well done, Timmy.
121 caps for the U.S. team. Well-deserved. Congratulations, Timmy, there. Now, I guess the question coming out of this, Jesse, I'll come to you on this. Do you feel like the standard of goalkeeping or goalkeeping coaching is dropped a little bit? Because I don't know if we're producing the out-and-out names. We have some names that have potential, but before, that's what we were known for, was our goalkeepers. And now it doesn't feel like that's the same conversation. This is me just stirring it up. I don't know if you agree with it or not.
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, because even a lot of these goalkeepers, they weren't goalkeepers when they were 12 years old, right? They were like, they converted into being goalkeepers when they were a little bit later, and then they were incredible athletes. And then that's when they really formed into who they became. Tim Howard, for me, is an absolute legend. And even more so as a person for me. Like, even when I remember joining the staff in 2010, you know, we had a few different captains and people that were kind of in part of the leadership group. But for me, Tim was the guy that when he said something in that group, that it meant the most, that it carried the most. Like, and it was because, of course, he was having a great career with what he was doing. He had went from Man U, and then he was in Everton, and what he accomplished in his career. But it was because as a person, the way he carried himself, the way he treated people, the way he worked, the way he trained, it was everything about him. So, and you know, the goalkeeper position is a special position. How do you really have, who are the best goalkeeping coaches in the world? And it's not like you have like this group of goalkeeper coaches that everyone points to and says, yeah, he's a legend because he produced this goalkeeper and this goalkeeper and this goalkeeper. It's a bit of a niche position, right? And these goalkeepers often, they might not be the best in the country when they're 16, even when they're 18, right? But then when they become professionals, this combination of athleticism, of fearlessness, because that is a position that you have to be fearless in, right?
Put some respect on Kevin Hitchcock's name, the New England Revolution goalkeeper coach who played at Chelsea, because he developed Turner and then George Petrovic. I mean, that's a rarity.
Yeah, that's good shout.
To see two keepers go to the Premier League and one really play with Chelsea for a full season.
But you understand my point. You understand my point.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
It's about athleticism. It's about sort of catching fire and being in the right place at the right time. And then these guys being able, then having the right kind of mentors to use their athleticism to hone them into complete goalkeepers. Right. So, and by the way, I do like being a goalkeeper manager is not easy. And because they have to be able to analyze, they have to have good relationships with all the goalkeeping core, and they have to manage what it's like to be an older backup goalkeeper, or whatever, a developing goalkeeper. They're a little different. Yes, they're a little different. But the game has also got very analytical. So like now they're looking a lot more at statistics and positioning and the movements. And then they also have to go out on the pitch and be able to crush balls and deliver from a performance perspective every day to warm goalkeepers up, to make sure that they're giving good crosses, that they're giving good shots, that they're creating the right kinds of training sessions. So
Jesse, you get an F on the timeline here. We're way past 2 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Nonetheless, okay. The U.S. has been able to deliver high-level goalkeepers, and we are probably a little bit lower from the perspective of potential that we've ever been. And somehow that needs to continue to be a really strong position for us moving forward.
All right.
We got there eventually.
We got there.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
So next topic,
Sorry.
Marco Reus to leave Dortmund after spending his whole career, came up through their youth academy and obviously been a captain for them. And this is a big move. And 34-year-old don't know where he's going to go. Maybe he comes to MLS. That'll be a conversation once we learn a little bit more. He had a good game this weekend for Dortmund and scored. So I guess the question is, if Gio Reyna does come back into Dortmund, should he stay now that Marco Reus is leaving? Does that leave? I mean, he wasn't playing much this season anyway. Charlie, I'll let you take this one. What should Gio? I don't even know if Dortmund wants Gio anymore, by the way.
No, I would say no. It's time for him to find a new club where he's going to play. I mean, we all knew that this Nottingham Forest move was not the right move, and that's putting it politely, right? He needs to go to a club where he's going to get considerable playing time, where he's seen as one of the premier midfielders, attacking midfielders in the group. And so even with Marco Reus, he wasn't playing, even when Marco Reus wasn't playing. So it's kind of irrelevant. you want to stand up and applaud Marco Reus's career at Dortmund. He's been incredible. It'll be interesting to see if does he come to MLS? Does he, what's the next step for him before he finishes his career? But for Gio Reyna, Dortmund is, I think, him and Terzic too. That's not a good relationship. It's time to go to a new place.
Yeah, they have so many good young players too that I feel like if Gio was going to be part of their plans, they would have been using him, and they're not. So big conversation about Gio. Obviously, have plenty of time to talk about him moving forward. Let's move on to the next headline. Jesse, coming to you. Columbus Crew advancing to the Concacaf Champions Cup final.
You called it.
You called it.
I said, listen, I did not call it. I said Monterrey. However, I said I hoped I was wrong. And I was wrong.
Good cover. Good cover.
And listen, now I'm taking the Crew to win it all. But I was wrong about Copa America too.
The thing
I
is,
think they're better than
Pachuca.
Pachuca. I think they can beat Pachuca. How they've gotten here, I think, says so much. Beating both Tigres and Monterrey.
Yeah, that's top.
And by the way, they played. They went there and they played football. Right? They stuck to who they wanted to be. I thought, anytime you go down to Monterrey against either one of those teams, it's not easy to play them. But they went down there. They played their game. They played well. They took their chances. Kudos to Columbus Crew, certainly to Wilfred. Really well done. Excited to see the final, and really think that this could be a big moment for MLS and obviously for the Columbus Crew if they can pull this off.
Yeah,
very Wilfred.
Yeah, shout out to there. Okay, next one, Lionel Messi. So let's give everybody some context in case they're unaware. Inter Miami hosted
Who
the New York
doesn't
Red
know?
Bulls.
Who's watching that doesn't know?
The New York Red Bulls go to Miami. They're up 1-0 at half. And Lionel Messi in the second half gets a goal and 5 assists, which makes me question listen, as a defender, it's so shocking how bad some of the decision-making is collectively and individually by players. Okay, yes, he's the best player in the world. I get that. He's going to create some stuff. But there are other ways to stifle his impact and influence, and I'm pissed about this. And of course, I mean, that one pass that he made was very similar to the one he had against the Netherlands.
Jimmy, how can you be pissed? What did you expect?
It's so bad, dude. No, come on, dude.
Expect on the attacking players. And I know you are a proud American defender in MLS.
Leave the American part out. I'm just a proud defender that actually it's a lost art. Defending is a lost art, Chuck.
Just the defenders in MLS.
I could still be playing
when you're comparing it
because
to
I use tennis balls.
The level of the attacking players. It's low quality. It is low quality, and so you're talking about the best player to ever play the game.
I get it.
What did we expect?
5 assists. You let that guy have 5 assists in one half.
Did you see the passes?
It's just pride. I did
see passes.
I know some of them were gratuitous assists. I mean, he just kind of passed it to the side and
no.
Guy.
I mean,
listen, I go back. Listen,
5 steps ahead.
I get that.
I've just seen this. Remember, we had this discussion about was Miami going to be good this year, and I've just now seen up close what the best players in the world are like. And of course, Lionel Messi is the cream of the crop. He's the best of the best, probably ever, right? But like when you just see the speed and the vision and the technical ability and the understanding of the game, when you see it at the highest level and when you see the players that can master it at the highest level, and again, Messi is extremely, extremely special. They just do things at a different level. They have a different way of slowing the game down, that's the thing with Messi. When you watch him play, it's almost like everyone else is on like some sort of like half speed or quarter speed. And he's just able to like at such a higher level, see everything, put all the pieces together. Most of his goals are not that remarkable, because he's already so much quicker to understand where he wants the ball to go, where he expects the goalkeeper to be, where he expects the defender to expect him to go, and how he's able to keep everything, how he's able to seem to always keep the defense off balance while he's completely in control and in balance. Right?
What would really piss me off, Jimmy, is that Luis Suarez scored a hat trick on one knee. Mike, he literally has one good knee. That is it. And look what he's doing.
We'll add that to the list.
Goals he has.
Add that to the list.
Me off if I was you, not Messi, scoring a goal and 5 assists. It'd be Suarez, a hat trick,
Okay.
and score.
But the problem is most of the defense is so focused on Messi, right? That if they lose track for 1 second, it's over. It's over. It's over. And that's I mean. And of course, Suarez and the connection they have, and still, I get it. Suarez, he almost only needs one knee. He's another guy. He doesn't score that many remarkable goals. He just knows how to put himself in dangerous spots, and he knows that Messi's going to find him.
Embarrassing for your former club.
Incredible to watch.
Embarrassing.
Incredible.
5 assists in 1/2. Joke. Be better, New York Red Bulls. Okay, last headline. St. Pauli are near the Bundesliga, getting back into the top division for the first time in a long time. What's interesting is they have a 31-year-old coach named Fabian Hürzeler, and he was born in Houston, Texas. Now, he moved back to Europe when he was 3 or 4 years old, so I don't know how much we can claim him, but we might try to want to claim him because he's doing an excellent job, and they are, I think, 3 points away with a couple games left to get book their ticket back to the Bundesliga. Jesse, do you know anything about this guy in your coaching ranks? Have you heard of him?
No.
He's like, I haven't heard of this guy.
Garnix.
Shout out to Ian Joy, though. Ian Joy, his former club, St. Pauli.
That's right.
From Hamburg. It's got a devout fan group. So, it's cool to see these smaller clubs come back to the top division.
Yeah,
but St. Pauli's it's a big club, right?
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean, not small club in that sense, but just not a massive main name.
And for them to do that over their rivals Hamburg, where Hamburg probably
Crazy.
not going to get in. Yeah, they're 4th or 5th, but not in that area. Yeah, that resonates.
And congrats,
in a lot of
man. That's an American, nonetheless. He's American. We're taking.
It's American. We'll take him. We'll take him.
Yeah.
We'll take him. All right. One notable midweek fixture outside of the Champions League and Europa League second leg semifinals. And Chuck, I think you're going to both of those games, so you lucky bum. Copa Italia finals happening on Wednesday. Atalanta versus Juventus. Make sure you guys check that out. It's on the CBS Sports Network and Paramount Plus. Coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That should be a very good game, and maybe Maxi Allegri's last game as Juve manager, or at least last big game as Juve manager. We'll see how Timo Weah and Weston McKennie, hopefully they both start in this one. They've been getting starts recently, but that's it. We're calling it a show. Call it what you want is done. So thank you, as always, for your support. Make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Take a few seconds to leave us a rating. That would be great. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, review and catch us on the CBS Sports Golazo Network, as always. If you're on the YouTubes, make sure you join us next week live on YouTube. Same time, same day, Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And hopefully Jesse Marsch doesn't get pulled over this time. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Enjoy your tennis balls. Later.